Week 1 of college football's in the books with Notre Dame's win over Louisville on the road 35-17. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, bringing you my thoughts on the Irish and the Cardinals. And again, Notre Dame wins it as the 9th-ranked team in the country, but it was a struggle, especially in the first half, down 14-7 at one point, 14-14 just minutes before the halftime break, and Louisville turned the ball over, and Notre Dame took advantage to take a 7-point lead into the locker room. All right, get my picks. Week 1, I was 16-11 against the spread, 59% plus. Week 2 predictions you can get at Mark Rogers TV's Voice of College Football Community. The link in the description section below. Also, get double your money at betnow.eu. Use the link in the description section below next to the hashtag SamStrong. And you grab that link and use the promo code MRTVCFB, MRTVCFB. And if you put $50 in, for example, you get $100. So you're playing in front of the sticks right out of the gate. And then you can listen to my picks if you'd like. All right, Notre Dame wins 35-17. Both teams were really running the football down the throats of the opposing defense. Louisville and Notre Dame, they combined for the most yardage that we've seen in one half of football this season out of all the games played. It's only 1 week, but this was the biggest rushing attack combined for both teams in the first half at around 340 yards. All right, that was a bit alarming on the Notre Dame side because Louisville's offense was putrid last year. Juwan passed through 8 touchdowns and 12 interceptions, and his confidence was basically shot by the end of last season. And, of course, we know about Louisville and Bobby Petrino wrecking the program 2-10, 0-8 in the ACC, and they gave up over 50 points per game in their final 7 games, I believe was the number. So the whole outfit was shot despite recruiting much better athletes than what they showed on the field. They pretty much gave up, and who could blame them? So they came out well, though, under Scott Satterfield, who I believe was a great hire, coming in from Appalachian State, where he won 3 consecutive Sun Belt championships. And if Monday night was any indication, he's got them on the right track. Don't expect a huge surge, but they're going to be much improved, and they've already shown that in their effort against Notre Dame. But this is still one of the worst teams in the ACC, but they should do much better than 0-8, I would think. They're going to win some ball games in the ACC based on their performance again against Notre Dame. But both teams running the ball at will in the first half. For Notre Dame, it was Ian Book on some designed quarterback runs, also escaping the pocket. He ran for 81 yards on 14 attempts. That includes sack yardage, too. But so he was effective. Tony Jones, 15 carries for 110 yards. He had a big night as Notre Dame with that offensive line where they have produced as many NFL players along the offensive front just in the last 3 to 4 years as just about anyone in college football just about look to have another potent offensive line and rushing attack. For Louisville, it was the freshman Javion Hawkins. So this kid played a little bit last year, but he got in under the redshirt requirements in regards to 4 games played. 19 carries for $122, so he was ripping up the Irish, and that was a bit disturbing for Notre Dame fans, I'm sure, against the Louisville team that was inept last year, that they were struggling so much. And Jawan Pass had 2 rushing touchdowns, and he was giving Notre Dame fits on the ground as well. And Louisville was off early with 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. Now, after that, Notre Dame locked in on defense, and the offense at some point started to make some plays downfield. The offense looked great the first drive. The first drive was perfectly scripted, a lot of big rushing plays, big gashes in the defense, but Notre Dame slipped up after that, made a lot of mistakes, as did Louisville. So if Louisville doesn't turn it over 5 times, and I'm a big proponent in actually looking at the turnovers. So there are turnovers that are forced by the defense. The defense made great plays. A cornerback broke on the football. A defensive end beat the tackle to the quarterback and strip sacked the quarterback. Those are great defensive plays. But then there are just completely unforced errors by the offense where there's a missed exchange, a tipped pass that goes right to a defensive back those are not forced turnovers. Sure, they're turnovers, but they count, but there's a difference. And here, Louisville pretty much coughed the ball up. These generally were not forced turnovers. So without Louisville coughing it up 5 times, Notre Dame might have been in some serious trouble. Ian Book did not have a great game at 14 of 23 for a $193 and a touchdown. He played much better in the second half, though. The defense got its act together after the first quarter for Notre Dame and totaled 11 tackles for loss. And Notre Dame wins 35-17. So for Louisville, certainly a good showing, especially in the first half against Notre Dame. They wore down, and the better team obviously took hold in the second half. But considering Louisville's next 2 opponents being Western Kentucky and Eastern Kentucky, they can't be let down by the big effort against Notre Dame, in which they didn't give up. They fought to the finish, but they got to take care of business against the teams that they have to beat. It was talked about during the broadcast that Louisville could get to 6 wins. I don't personally see it. I still think that there are big issues with this team, and looking at their schedule, considering that they're most likely playing the 2 best teams in the other division in the ACC, Miami and Virginia, and they play in the tougher division. Everybody in the division's better than them, or appears to be at this point, that it's going to be difficult for them to go. Let's say they lose to Kentucky the last game of the season, so they've already lost to Notre Dame. So the best they can do most likely is 2-2 non-conference. That means they've got to go 4-4 in the ACC. I don't believe this team's going to go 4-4 in the ACC. So they're much improved. Let's say they go 4-8 this year. For Notre Dame, it's obviously about winning the big games and getting to the college football playoff. They're not in a conference. They've got New Mexico State next week, and they can work on their game to get ready for that trip to Athens, Georgia, to face the Bulldogs. Notre Dame has 3 really difficult road tests this year. At Georgia is the toughest. At Michigan would be the second most difficult. And at Stanford, the final week of the season. Notre Dame looking to return to the college football playoff and put on a better showing than last year. Give me your thoughts on Notre Dame's chances of getting to the college football playoff. You would think 11-1 minimum would have to be the requirement for the Irish, and they may need to go 12-0 considering there is no conference championship in play for them. They need to join a conference. I will give them a 20% chance of winning at Georgia. I would not be stunned or shocked. I would be slightly surprised. Georgia still with the better athletes and at home. But consider this. Georgia took a team that eventually came that close to winning a national championship to South Bend 2 years ago, and they escaped due to a late turnover with a win 20-19, and Ian Book was not the quarterback in that game. Brandon Winbush was, and Notre Dame was severely hamstrung in the passing game. And so expect a good one in Athens in 2 weeks with Georgia taking on Notre Dame. Would love to know what you think about the Irish and the big matchup against Georgia coming up right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football.